If you're trying to inspire sympathy from millions of people who have to go out there every day and grind on their feet, not doing luxurious things, it's just not going to happen.
And a Jamie Lloyd production of Evita. I promise y'all don't need to be worrying about her career like that.
Because there's so many people that will view you as competition, or they'll make you feel not as good as you deserve to feel.
I just saw this video that was like, Rachel Zegler doesn't have a single movie role lined up after Snow White.
They quietly warned her in private, urging her to be careful, but she refused to listen. Now she may have to face the consequences.
I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Explosive new rumors out of Broadway suggest Rachel Zegler is staring down a staggering $5 million fine, and it's not for quitting or walking off the set of Evita. According to insiders, the penalty is tied to repeated on-set outbursts that allegedly activated a hidden clause in her contract. That clause? It's a strict penalty meant to hold stars accountable when their behavior harms a production's reputation. Now, sources claim producers are using it against her like a weapon. It's the kind of clause that only surfaces when things spiral, out of control, and if these claims are true, Zegler may have just pushed things too far.
And in the film industry, when you are an actor, when you sign one of these contracts in the entertainment industry, I think a lot of people on the outside think that, if you are somebody who, has a lot of publicity around you and your name is attached to a project, that means that you have a ton of control or a ton of intel, but usually that is not the case. As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look. That is our job, and that was my job on this production. So again, that's really all I can say. Which honestly kind of seems like maybe this path that I'm taking right now is the path that Rachel Zegler should have taken instead of just running her mouth for the last 3 years.
This comes just after Rachel finally broke her silence about the Evita collapse, reportedly pointing fingers at the cast and claiming she was set up from the start. But now, it seems the people behind the production are striking back, aiming straight at her paycheck. A $5 million fine, all because of what she said off stage. And the wildest part? Her team isn't even denying it. They're simply saying no comment. Behind the scenes, though, it's total chaos. And what happens next could shatter everything she's worked so hard to build.
A lot of what you see with Zegler is really just a pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work. She believes that she should be able to express herself and speak her truth or whatever nonsense, regardless of the consequences to everybody else. In reality, you have a job. You're getting paid to do this job. You signed on the dotted line. You took on the role. And that job comes with certain basic responsibilities. And one of the most basic is the responsibility to control yourself and comport yourself a certain way publicly so that you don't harm the project, thereby harm all the hundreds of other people who are working on it.
When Rachel Zegler's alleged private messages leaked, the ones where she reportedly blamed the Evita cast for turning the production toxic, the internet exploded. It wasn't just a comment. It felt like a full-blown declaration of war. Guys, those messages she didn't hold back. She allegedly claimed she was set up from the beginning, that the people around her never wanted her there, and that she was made to feel like an outsider during every single rehearsal. The tone was emotional, raw and clearly never meant to be seen by the public, but once they were out, there was no undoing the damage.
When you're there and you're trying to do your best, you've worked on this part, you spend hours and hours on end trying to get this character just down right for your big audition, and then if you have a producer or casting director sitting there and then eating food in front of you, yeah, it can be very annoying. Personally, I've never had that experience.
Fans were instantly divided. Some stood by her, saying Rachel was finally speaking up and defending herself. But others saw it differently. They felt it was just another case of her dodging responsibility and blaming others when things fell apart. As for the cast, total silence. Not a single public comment. No confirmations, no denials. Nothing but a wall of quiet that made the situation feel even heavier. But behind that silence, something was clearly brewing.
Is this because of Snow White or is this because of something else? Like y'all just want to jump on another woman's hate train? This is actually looking pretty familiar. Kind of reminds me of another woman that had a hate campaign. But that's for a different video. But yeah, I won't sit back and let another hate train on another woman continue.
According to news sources close to the production, the leaked messages weren't just embarrassing. They were the breaking point. Tensions had already been building for weeks, with whispers of missed rehearsals, passive-aggressive behavior, and private complaints filed by members of the crew. Now, insiders say the producers have had enough. They've reportedly dug up the contract, found a specific clause, and are gearing up to enforce it. No more warnings, no more leniency.
Rachel Zegler is very upset with all of us over the reaction we've had. You can tell this because she's speaking in riddles. Check it out.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Oh, Rachel, I hate to break it to you because people did not actually line up to see you.
It's a clause that could strike Rachel Zegler where it hurts the most, not her reputation, but her bank account. And if the producers go through with what they're planning, she could be facing a multi-million-dollar penalty. But here's the wildest part. This might not even be about the money. It could be about making a statement, sending a clear message to the industry. Because what happened next stunned even her most loyal fans.
One thing I love about this icon, Rachel Zegler, is the fact that she's just authentically herself. No matter what, she will call things out if things need to be called out, and she will have a strong stance on it, and I love her so much for that. She is just an absolute icon. I will forever be a Rachel Zegler stan till the day I die. Like, literally, if I'm probably gonna still stan her as well. I love this icon so much, such a powerhouse. Her singing, oh my god. Her acting, oh my god. Her in Evita, oh my god. Rachel, why do you do this to me? I don't have any money. And you're making me go to Evita. You are making me go to Evita because I want to see you. I want to see you being the powerhouse person you are. I love you so much, Rachel Zegler. I really, really do.
High-profile stars like Rachel Zegler don't sign standard contracts. They sign complex, multi-layered agreements packed with clauses most people have never even heard of. These clauses aren't just there to protect the production. They're designed to keep the star in check. And now, according to fresh leaks making the rounds on theater forums and industry gossip pages, Rachel's Evita contract allegedly included something called a conduct and reputation clause. In simple terms, if she said or did anything on or off stage that could hurt the production's image or cost it money, she'd have to pay, and that payment could reach up to $5 million.
The Rachel Zegler effect has begun. According to scooper Daniel RPK, Rachel Zegler has been recast in Paddington 3 due to strikes, but I have a sneaking suspicion the strikes are only a cop-out for the fact that she has had so much negative press. She is certainly one of the key reasons why the Snow White movie is absolutely doomed. She's probably one of the key reasons why the next Hunger Games movie is gonna totally flop. And now the folks that are making the third Paddington movie are probably just using the strikes as an excuse to make sure that she's recast. Because I think if they outwardly said, well, we recast her because she just ruins everything she touches, that might not be a good look from the studio. But my speculation is that is actually what's going on.
That number isn't random. It's reportedly based on the production's overall costs, advertising budgets, promotional campaigns, and projected ticket sales, all of which could take a serious hit if the show's leading actress becomes the center of a public scandal. Sources say the producers are now combing through Rachel's contract after weeks of damaging leaks, backstage drama, and viral controversy. And it's not just about what Rachel allegedly said, it's about the toll it's taking on the show's public image. Theaters don't run on headlines, they run on ticket sales. And Evita is already in trouble. Fan reactions are all over the place. Behind-the-scenes footage is being picked apart frame by frame. And Rachel Zegler's name has shifted from rising star to the face of chaos. Insiders claim producers have brought in legal teams to determine whether her behavior, everything from leaks to emotional outbursts to missed rehearsals, can legally be seen as a breach of her agreement. But here's where it gets tricky. This kind of clause, it's rarely enforced. It's usually more of a silent threat, a last resort move to keep talent in line. The fact that it's even being mentioned now shows just how far things have unraveled. And Rachel's team, still silent, no denial, no press spin, nothing, which only raises more questions. Is it true? Could one of Hollywood's most talked about young stars really be facing a $5 million penalty over what happened backstage? Or are the producers tightening the screws to remind her who really holds the power? Either way, one thing is certain. If they go through with it, this clause could change everything. So, what exactly did Rachel Zegler do that pushed the producers to allegedly consider activating such a brutal penalty clause? According to whispers from insiders, it wasn't a single incident. It was a pattern. Multiple sources, from anonymous crew members to friends of the cast posting through fan pages, claimed that Rachel's behavior backstage became more and more difficult as Evita rehearsals progressed. One viral comment described her as emotionally unpredictable, quiet and distant one minute, then suddenly frustrated the next, especially when choreography or direction didn't go her way. Another source alleged tense run-ins with vocal coaches and choreographers. Not outright shouting matches, but awkward confrontations that made the room feel uneasy and left the rest of the cast unsure of how to respond. Some claimed she'd arrive late or leave rehearsals early, often without explanation. Others said she'd go totally silent, refusing to engage with feedback or notes. A few even alleged that she skipped essential prep sessions, forcing others to adapt around her absence. And then came the moment that reportedly broke everything. A crew member allegedly filed a formal complaint, saying Rachel snapped at them during a late-night rehearsal over a technical issue. No one knows exactly what was said, but the complaint was documented and sent directly to the production leadership. From that point on, insiders say, the entire tone shifted. That's when producers reportedly began consulting lawyers, revisiting contracts, and identifying the clause they might be able to enforce if the situation spiraled further, and all of this happened before the leaks. Before the messages where Rachel allegedly blamed the cast, before her fans turned, before her silence shattered and everything blew up. To the public, it looked like Rachel was finally speaking out, but to producers, it looked like a star unraveling. While Rachel has stayed tight-lipped since, insiders say the production team has been busy. They're documenting everything, each interaction, each complaint, either to pressure her into backing down or to build a solid enough case to pull the trigger on that devastating clause. Because for them, this isn't just about one performer, it's about control, and their next move might be the boldest yet. When the leaks began, fans assumed Rachel Zegler was controlling the narrative. But behind the scenes, insiders painted a very different picture. While Rachel was allegedly firing off private messages and blaming her castmates, the producers of Evita were saying nothing, strategically, no public statement, no denial of the rumors, no defense of the cast. Instead, they quietly pulled out. Sources close to the production now say the $5 million clause isn't just about collecting money. It's a threat, a reminder to Rachel that her contract is a leash, and they're holding the other end. This isn't simply punishment, it's a power play. By quietly letting this clause become public knowledge, the producers have taken control of the story without saying a word. They're using fear to speak, for financial ruin, legal battles, and the risk of being blacklisted, which is the ultimate career death sentence for any rising star. Many believe this move was carefully timed. Why leak the contract clause now, after Rachel's public blame game? Because allegedly, the producers had reached their limit. Enough of the backstage tension, the PR nightmare, and watching their show's revenue slide with every scandalous headline. This threat sends a clear message to the entire industry. Fall in line, or we will bury you in paperwork. It's pressure that doesn't just silence a star, it isolates them. Everyone in the room knows who's in charge, and it isn't Rachel. She may have thought going public would change the story. Instead, it might have triggered a response she can't undo. Now the big question, was this just a bluff, or are the producers really ready to drop a $5 million hammer? As news of the possible fine spread, fans did what they always do. They picked sides, turning the internet into a battleground. On one side, those who believe Rachel finally went too far and must face the consequences. One viral tweet read, "She's been acting like a diva for months. If the producers are fighting back, good. This view isn't rare. Since her Snow White comments, Rachel has become a magnet for criticism. Some call her arrogant, others immature, but nearly everyone agrees her public image has been chaotic at best. Reddit threads exploded overnight. One user wrote, "She's tanking her career in real time. I've never seen someone self-destruct this fast." Another added, "This is what happens when you forget Broadway isn't Hollywood. You can't act out and walk away clean." But not everyone is celebrating. Many longtime fans see this alleged fine as unfair. "She's being scapegoated," one fan posted on TikTok. "Why treat her like a criminal for being emotional? She's 22 and under insane pressure." Others pointed to the producer's silence. If this fine is real, why no confirmation? It feels like they're leaking rumors just to manipulate the press. Then came comparisons. People pointed to other stars, male actors who've had meltdowns, cursed at directors or stormed off sets, yet kept working without facing million-dollar fines. The debate shifted from Rachel's behavior to how young women in the spotlight are treated when they push back. Some say she brought it on herself. Others believe she's being made an example, publicly disciplined to keep others in line. Either way, the divide is growing. Rachel remains silent, but if she stays quiet, speculation will only get louder. The next chapter might not come from her. It might come from the courts. Let's be real. $5 million isn't a slap on the wrist. It's a career-altering penalty. But is it even enforceable, or just smoke and mirrors? Legal insiders discussing on forums and podcasts are divided. Some say yes. If Rachel's contract includes a detailed conduct clause, producers could demand compensation if they prove her actions caused reputational or financial harm, especially with documented complaints and patterns of disruption. Others argue it's far more complicated. Proving her conduct directly hurt the show's performance is a high legal bar. After all, Evita is still running, ticket sales continue, and Rachel is still showing up. That's why some experts think this might be a scare tactic, a way for producers to remind Rachel who's in charge without dragging her into a public lawsuit. Here's the twist. Whether the fine is real or not, the damage is done. In the court of public opinion, Rachel is now linked to on-set chaos, massive fines, and a battle with her own employers. Whether she faces a penalty or not, the story is out. When your name becomes a warning instead of just a headline, that's when careers begin to crumble. Rachel Zegler may have survived the Snow White storm, but this fight is far from over. She may have clawed her way into Broadway, but this could be the moment it all unravels unless she makes her next move extremely carefully. So here we are, after weeks of silence following the collapse of one of the most hyped stage revivals in recent memory, Rachel Zegler has finally spoken. Not through a formal statement or a heartfelt video, but through shadows, leaks, and rumors so loud they no longer feel like rumors at all. And what's most striking? She didn't say, "I'm sorry." Instead, she said, "They did this to me." That's not an apology. That's a pivot, a spin, a choice. Now the question isn't just what went wrong with Evita, it's much bigger. It's about Rachel Zegler herself. Is she owning up to her collapse, or is she doing everything she can to rewrite the ending? Let's look at the facts. The rehearsal drama, confirmed by multiple backstage sources. Her conflicts with the cast, whispered about for months before the leaks. The tension with the director and vocal coach, reportedly severe enough that some crew threatened to walk off. Yet in her version, now spreading across TikTok and Reddit, she's the one who was cornered, targeted, outnumbered, sabotaged. It's a powerful story, but it's also convenient. Let's not forget, Rachel Zegler has been here before. She made headlines during Snow White for criticizing the original story, mocking the prince character, and alienating the very fan base Disney was counting on. Instead of walking it back, she doubled down, calling her critics weird, misogynistic, and stuck in the past. Then came the Shazam 2 debacle, where she publicly admitted she only took the role for the paycheck, sparking backlash from fans and the studio alike. Again, no apology, just a Twitter block spree and silence. Now with Evita, we're seeing the same playbook. Go quiet when backlash begins, let the narrative build until curiosity peaks, leak a version of events where you're the misunderstood one, then re-emerge as the survivor, not the participant. It's crisis control in 4 acts, but it's also starting to look like a pattern. Because while media stories shift, one thing stays constant. It's never Rachel's fault. To her supporters, this is strength. They say she's been held to impossible standards, that she's a young Latina actress navigating a hostile industry, one eager to see her fail because she's outspoken, unapologetic, and refuses to conform. And to be clear, that's not a baseless claim. Hollywood is brutal. Young women face standards their male peers never encounter, and the theater world is even more cutthroat, especially for outsiders who don't fit the traditional mold. So maybe Rachel was pushed into a corner. Maybe the set really was toxic. Maybe her cries for help were ignored until everything boiled over. But even if all that's true, there's a difference between explaining your side and blaming everyone else. The reality is, Evita didn't collapse in a vacuum. It took dozens of people to mount that show, from choreographers and lighting techs to vocal coaches and ensemble dancers. They were all in the trenches. And when the production imploded, it wasn't just Rachel who walked away bruised. It was everyone. So the leaks, the subtle attacks, the narrative spin, they may earn Rachel sympathy in some circles, but they're alienating others. People who worked alongside her, who see these anonymous leaks as veiled shots, who feel thrown under the bus so a star can save her brand. That's the danger of playing the victim too often. Eventually, even your fans start asking, okay, but what's your role in all this? Maybe that moment is here now. Rachel Zegler's career isn't over, not by a long shot. She's talented, ambitious, undeniably captivating. But talent without humility is a tough sell. If this is her final play in the Evita saga, to rewrite the story, shift the blame, and walk away clean, she better be ready for the fallout. Because Hollywood loves a comeback, yes, but it also remembers. Every burned bridge, every slighted castmate, every behind-the-scenes whisper, they don't just vanish. They build, they echo, they shape what comes next. So we end where we began. Is Rachel Zegler owning her story, or just blaming her way out of it? Right now, that answer depends on who you ask. Some say she's reclaiming the narrative. Others say she's deflecting, dodging, digging a deeper hole. But one thing's clear. This isn't the end. It's the prologue to whatever comes next. And if you're following this story, you definitely won't want to miss what's around the corner. Subscribe because this saga is just getting started.